Hi there, good morning, it's Dave from Out There Bushcraft. Predictably another beautiful day in the woods. Early March in the UK. Some of the restrictions on lockdown have just eased. We're expecting some groups in here this week, home educated kids. So really looking forward to that. But in the meantime, just thought I'd do a little bit of work on the shelter. And start to experiment a little bit with what we can do just with clumps of grass bundled and tied together and attached to the frame, and see if that will form a crude thatching of sorts. So just a bit of an experiment really. The whole shelter is an experiment in that sense. So we'll give it a little go and see how it does. Okay, no axe today, not really a tool I need. I have brought though one of my favourite tools to use, and it's an underrated tool I would say in lots of ways, certainly in the bushcraft community I would say. So a bill hook, which is fantastic for harvesting saplings and smaller lengths of wood, and certainly grasses as well. So I'll be using this tool just to collect some of the materials I'll need for the rest of the session. I'm going to be starting by putting that horizontal layer that I talked about. So there'll be one, two, maybe three horizontal layers that will go onto the shelter as it looks now. That's the plan anyway, that might change of course. So I'll put those horizontal layers on just to provide that structure to be able to tie the grasses to, and then I'll be using some of the grasses that I've got here just in clumps, probably about, I suppose, about wrist thickness. Lash them on just with some natural cordage, not cordage I've made myself, cordage using natural materials, just to keep it reasonably accurate and authentic, I guess. So we'll be using some of this twine just to tie them on, and we'll see how that works. I'll collect some more grasses, collect some little saplings to use as the horizontal weaves, and then we'll get on with the thatching. Okay, you can see that the shelter has a little bit more of the horizontal support that I was talking about earlier on. So you've got, you know, quite a strong, quite a thick piece of sycamore running across here. Lower down, you've got another one just here. And overall I think it's given it that little bit more strength, particularly at the base. I might need to put some lower down, but it depends on how sturdy the bundles are once they're tied. But perhaps I'll need a layer literally just off the bottom, maybe 3-4 inches, just to give it a little bit more strength. And then as we walk around the shelter, you can see that the back end I haven't done so much because there was a lot of lattice there already, which has given it a lot of support. And then I've done some more around this side, so that we're starting to get some of that sort of structural integrity that it'll probably need once I add the grasses, which some of which are here waiting to go. And yeah, we'll give that a go. I'll tie a few on, maybe do this bottom section just here, a few feet along, and then try an overlapping layer above just to see how that's going to work as a crude thatch. Okay, then, so the basic plan is to get a load of this stuff. Now, I suppose if it was reeds, I'd be aiming to kind of discern top from bottom. Not so likely that I'll do that with this stuff, I don't think. But what I'm after is getting a nice bundle of about that size, and then attaching the bundle like that. Now, normally I'd want the bases of the thatch to be towards the base of the shelter, but towards the base of the roof effectively. That's probably not going to be the case, just because it's grasses and I've piled them up here. But what I'll do is, you know, if I just kind of tidy the bundles up a little bit like that as a start point, and then we'll lash them on and see how it goes from there. Okay, then, so that's some of the materials just roughly bundled together. It's one of the interesting things about doing a shelter in this way, that kind of primitive tech idea, is that you know, knowing the right way to go about it, and a shelter like this ideally would be sited as close to the resources that you need as possible, so close to the grasses or the reeds or whatever you're using, and close to your source of saplings, or, you know, your willow shoots or hazel or whatever you happen to be using. A little bit more difficult to do that here, in the sense that it's also got to be away from the public, you know, for lots of reasons, not least that you know, you get some wanton damage done to it, I suppose, if it's easily spotted. So it's tucked away on our site, where hopefully it's safe for us to be able to use with the kids in the future, and you know, certainly overnight if we can manage that. But it has meant that there's a lot of shifting and carrying, whereas if we'd been close to the source of the grasses, it would have been a little bit easier. But it's about, I suppose, about a 150-200 metre round trip that I have to do to gather this stuff, so that will take time, but I'll get the kids involved in that this week, I'm sure, and they'll enjoy gathering some grasses and seeing the shelter go up. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is attach a few layers, a few bunches along here, and then a few above, just to see how that's going to look. Alright, let's have a look. So if we start off, I guess, with a little knot at this end. So I've just taken a small length of this stuff just to see how it works, and we'll tie it on. And that should just come down quite nicely. I took that away just for aesthetics, I suppose. So we'll take this first bundle, and all I really want to do is position it roughly where I want it. Bring the cable That's it. Bring that around, get it in position, and I'm ready for the next bundle. So just carry on like that, I think. So each time I'll bring the string around, put a little half hitch just to prevent it from slackening later on, just to bind it in a little bit tighter. Put a little half hitch, and then ready with the next one. And that should, I think, should be enough. We'll see how it goes. So bundle in place. A little half hitch. And bind it in tight. I think that'll probably do. Just every now and then I'm just throwing in a little clove hitch, effectively several half hitches all grouped together, just to see how that goes and keep it all bound nice and tight. What I'll just try and do now, I wouldn't normally do this, but it's just, you know, it is part of the experiment, I suppose. I'll just tie another length up here and we'll hang a few over and see how that looks. It's not really my plan to necessarily get the whole thing done quickly, because I'd like to see inside this shelter there's a whole batch of bluebells getting ready to come through, and I would quite like to see them. So we'll probably not do too much to this shelter right now. Ooh, hang on, I'll just, oh, there's a tripod away. I'll probably leave that in. I'm probably not planning to cover the whole thing until these bluebells have come through, because I think that will look really cool. But certainly putting a few layers on like this won't do any harm. It'll just give us a bit of an idea of how things will look, and if this approach to the thatching is a good one or not, of course, in which case we'll do it again until we get it right. So you can see I've got them overlapping by about 4 inches or so, I guess. And that should mean that we have sufficient overlap. I think there was a little bit of windproofing perhaps, and who knows, maybe even some proof from the rain, although I'm not 100% sure on that. We'll see how it looks. But certainly it'll be a shelter that the kids will enjoy getting involved in, and we'll use it for our living history days in the future, which I think will be really cool. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'll try and find myself a few more bundles of grass like that and bring them back, and we'll maybe get a few feet along and see how it looks. Okay, so I'm just going to stop there, just really just to give you an idea of how that thatch is going to work. So I've got the bottom layer in, top layer overlapping by, you know, about a handspan, I guess, and they are bound on, as you can see. So we've got them bound on across here, and that will carry on all the way around. And from the inside, it's looking reasonably good, so we'll see how that looks when it's all done. I'm going to stop now. I've got some tidying up to do before we get the groups in a couple of days, so I'll just do a little bit of tidying up around the site and get things ready for some of the activities that we're going to do. But there you go, that's at least a start on the thatching. I'm fairly sure that some of the kids will be interested in carrying that on. If not, then we'll do it another time. You know, we always kind of work as much as we can in a child-led way when we're out in the woods on forest school, but I'm sure some of them will find this quite an interesting activity to do, and certainly, you know, in the future you guys will be able to see us using this shelter, I think, as a, you know, for an overnight. So yeah, I hope that's been enjoyable for you, just to see the next stage that we're at. As always, please do consider liking, subscribing and sharing. You might be a bushcrafter, you might be a bushcrafting and outdoorsy family looking for something a little bit different. Whatever that might be, you know, hopefully, sorry about that, I'm going to keep that bit in as well actually. Hopefully we will have something on offer that is useful to you. If there's something you really want to see, then just let us know and we'll endeavour to do whatever that is too. Within the bounds of decency, of course, but do let me know what you think, what activities you'd like to see us doing, and as we roll on into spring, I'm sure there'll be lots of activities that we can have a go at that you'll enjoy. Okay, so there we go, the start of the thatching, the cover for our shelter. I hope you enjoyed it. You know, maybe this is something that you can consider doing when you're out there in the near future. You know, as lockdown and restrictions ease, we can get back to enjoying something that I think a lot of us have really appreciated over the lockdown, which is, you know, getting back out in nature. Okay, take care.